The diplomatic station floated in the darkness of space like a massive jewel. Ships from 100 different worlds docked at its ports. Inside the grand hall, Ambassador Tae Yang stood with his small team and watched the Velthari delegation approach. Princess Velnara walked at the center of her group. Her skin shimmered with a pale blue light. Her eyes were large and dark, containing no warmth that Tai Yang could see. She moved with perfect grace, as if she had practiced every step 1,000 times. Behind her walked 12 advisors, all dressed in flowing robes that seemed to shift colors in the light. "Ambassador Tae Yang," the princess said. Her voice came out flat, without emotion. "The Velthari Empire acknowledges your presence." Tae Yang bowed slightly. "Princess Velnara, humanity is honored by your attention." The princess tilted her head. "We shall see if that honor is deserved. The Galactic Council has asked us to determine if your species is ready for full membership. Most new species are not." Ji Woo, standing beside Tai Yang, smiled warmly despite the cold greeting. "We look forward to showing you what humanity has to offer." The princess did not smile back. "Words mean little. We will observe your actions." The formal dinner took place in a massive chamber with windows looking out at the stars. Representatives from 12 species sat at a circular table. Dishes from various worlds covered the surface. Some bubbled with strange liquids. Others released colored smoke. A few moved on their own. Tae Yang noticed Hyun-woo, their security officer, standing quietly by the wall. His eyes tracked every movement in the room. Old habits from his military days never left him. The Velthari servers brought out a dish that smelled sweet and rich. They placed it before each human delegate. Ji Woo looked at it carefully, then pushed it away gently. Princess Velnara noticed immediately. "Is the food not acceptable?" "The food looks wonderful," Ji Woo said. "But I cannot eat today. It is a fasting day for me." The princess's eyes narrowed. "Fasting? You choose not to consume nutrients when they are available?" "Yes," Ji Woo explained. "Once a month, I fast to remember those who do not have enough to eat. It is a tradition in my family." Several aliens at the table exchanged glances. One of them, a tall being covered in silver scales, laughed. "How primitive. Voluntary starvation serves no purpose." But Princess Velnara did not laugh. She stared at Ji Woo with an expression that might have been confusion. "You limit yourself by choice? This makes no sense. Advanced species optimize all resources." Tae Yang set down his glass. "Many humans follow various traditions that involve sacrifice or limitation. We find meaning in them." "Meaning?" The princess repeated the word as if tasting something unfamiliar. "What is this meaning worth if it costs you resources?" "Perhaps more than the resources themselves," Tae Yang said quietly. The dinner continued, but the princess kept watching the humans. She barely touched her own food. Her advisors whispered to each other, but she waved them to silence. When the meal ended, she stood and approached Tai Yang directly. "I request a private meeting," she said. "Tomorrow. I wish to understand these traditions you speak of." Her advisors looked shocked. One stepped forward. "Your Highness, surely this is unnecessary. These humans are clearly—" "Tomorrow," the princess cut him off. "That is my decision." The next morning, Ji Woo prepared a small meeting room. She set up holographic displays and arranged chairs in a circle rather than across from each other. Hyun-woo checked the room 3 times for security issues, even though they were on neutral ground. "Do you think she is actually curious?" Ji Woo asked. "Or is this some kind of test?" Tai Yang smiled. "Maybe both. But I saw something in her eyes last night, a question she could not answer. That is where all understanding begins." When Princess Velnara arrived, she came alone. Her advisors waited outside, clearly unhappy about this decision. She looked at the circular seating arrangement and hesitated before sitting down. "This formation," she said, "it suggests equality. I am a crown princess of the Velthari Empire. And we are humans, Taeyang said, sitting across from her. In this room, we are all beings trying to understand each other. Is that not the purpose of diplomacy? The princess was silent for a long moment. Then she sat. Very well. Explain to me these traditions. Why does your species cling to old practices? The Velthari abandoned such things 50,000 years ago. We found they slowed progress. Jiwoo activated a holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, rotating slowly. Our traditions connect us to our past and to each other. They remind us who we are. But you know who you are, the princess said. You are humans. Why do you need reminders? Because knowing something in your mind is different from feeling it in your heart, Jiwoo said. She changed the display to show various human ceremonies. Weddings, funerals, festivals, gatherings. Every human culture has traditions. Some are thousands of years old. Some we created yesterday. But they all serve a purpose. The princess leaned forward, studying the images. I see gatherings, decorations, people in special clothing. These things consume time and resources. What do you gain that makes this worthwhile? Hyunwoo spoke for the first time. May I tell you a story, princess? She turned to look at him. If you believe it is relevant. When I was young, my family celebrated Chuseok every year. That is a harvest festival in Korean culture. My grandfather would gather all of us together. We would prepare food for 3 days. We would visit the graves of our ancestors. We would play traditional games and tell old stories. You spent 3 days not working? The princess asked. We spent 3 days remembering, Hyunwoo corrected. My grandfather told us about his parents who survived a great war. He told us about his grandmother who fed 20 families during a famine by sharing everything she had. He told us about his brother who died saving children from a burning building. The princess's expression did not change, but something flickered in her dark eyes. And this made you stronger somehow? It made me understand what strength means, Hyunwoo said. Not just surviving, but choosing to help others survive. Not just living, but living for something greater than yourself. Princess Velnara stood and walked to the window. She looked out at the stars for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was quieter than before. The Velthari do not speak of the dead. Death is failure. Those who fail are forgotten. We believe this motivates the living to succeed. And has it worked? Taeyang asked gently. The princess turned back to face them. For the first time, her perfect composure seemed to crack just slightly. I do not know. I have never thought to question it before. She returned to her seat and looked at each of them in turn. I wish to learn more. Show me other traditions. Help me understand why your species values these things. The council expects my report in 1 week. I intend to give them an accurate assessment. Jiwoo smiled. We would be happy to share our culture with you, princess. But I warn you, the princess said, and there might have been the smallest hint of challenge in her voice. I am not easily impressed. The Velthari Empire has seen countless species and their primitive customs. I do not expect humans to be different. Taeyang met her gaze steadily. Then perhaps we will surprise you. The princess stood to leave. At the door, she paused and looked back. This fasting tradition of yours, Jiwoo. When you eat again tomorrow, will the food taste better? Jiwoo thought about it. Yes, actually, it will. And I will be more grateful for it. Grateful, the princess repeated. Another word she seemed to be tasting for the first time. I will return tomorrow. Be ready to explain more. After she left, the 3 humans sat in silence for a moment. Hyunwoo finally spoke. She is not what I expected. No, Taeyang agreed. She is curious. That is dangerous for someone who has been taught never to question. Dangerous for her? Jiwoo asked. Dangerous for everything she believes, Tai Yang said. Looking at the door, the Princess Velnara arrived exactly on time the next day. This time she wore simpler robes, though still elegant. Her advisors stood outside the meeting room looking concerned. They had tried to convince her not to continue these meetings, but she had refused to listen. Jiwoo had transformed the observation deck into a comfortable space. Soft lighting replaced the harsh diplomatic brightness. The stars beyond the windows created a peaceful backdrop. She had even brought tea from Earth, though she was not sure if the princess could drink it. "Please, sit wherever you feel comfortable," Jiwoo said. The princess chose a chair near the window. She sat with perfect posture, her hands folded in her lap. "I have thought about our conversation yesterday. I still do not understand why you honor the dead. The dead cannot benefit from honor. It seems illogical." Tae Yang sat down across from her. "May I ask you something first? What happens when someone dies in the Velthari Empire? Their body is recycled for nutrients. Their possessions are distributed according to law. Their name is removed from all records unless they achieved something significant. This is efficient and practical." "And their family?" Tae Yang asked. The princess tilted her head. "What about them? How do they feel? How do they remember their loved one?" "They move forward," the princess said. "Dwelling on the dead serves no purpose. New family members are created. Life continues." Jiwoo activated the holographic display. Images appeared showing various human memorials, simple gravestones, grand monuments, walls covered with names. "These are places where we remember people who died. Some died in wars, some died in accidents, some simply grew old and passed away naturally. But we remember them all." The princess studied the images. "You build structures for the dead? This uses resources that the living could benefit from." "The living do benefit," Hyunwoo said quietly. He had been standing by the wall, but now moved closer. "May I share something personal?" The princess nodded. "My great-grandfather was named Hyun Soo. He worked as an engineer on one of the first deep space stations humanity built. 70 years ago, that station suffered a catastrophic failure. A fuel leak caused a chain reaction. The station began to collapse." Hyunwoo pulled up an old video recording. The hologram showed a man in a worn engineering suit running through smoke-filled corridors. His face was covered in soot and sweat. "This is him," Hyunwoo said. "In these final minutes, he could have reached an escape pod. He would have survived. Instead, he ran to the residential section. He manually opened emergency doors that had jammed. He carried 3 children through the flames. He went back again and again, pulling people out." The video showed chaos and fire. The figure of Hyun Soo moved through it all, never stopping. "He saved 47 people that day," Hyunwoo continued. His voice was steady but quiet. "Then a support beam collapsed on him. He died instantly. He was 53 years old." Princess Velnara watched the video end. "He failed to preserve his own life. In Velthari culture, this would be seen as a waste. He could have survived and continued contributing to society." "But he did contribute," Jiwoo said. "Those 47 people went on to live full lives. They had children and grandchildren. Some became doctors, teachers, engineers. They helped build the human presence in space. All of that happened because he chose to save them." The princess was quiet for a moment. "But he did not live to see any of it." "No," Hyunwoo agreed. "But we did. Every year on the anniversary of his death, my family gathers. We tell his story. We teach the youngest children about what he did. We visit his memorial and leave flowers. My grandmother, his daughter, tells us how he used to laugh. How he taught her to fix machines. How he always said that people were more important than things. And this ritual," the princess said slowly, "what does it accomplish?" Hyunwoo met her eyes. "It reminds us what matters. When I face a difficult choice, I think about him. I ask myself what he would do. Would he take the easy path or the right path? His sacrifice guides me even though he died before I was born. The princess stood and walked to the window. Her reflection showed in the glass against the backdrop of stars. The Velthari believe that focusing on death is morbid. We believe it prevents progress. Taeyang joined her at the window. What if remembering death is what gives life meaning? What if honoring sacrifice is what creates the courage to sacrifice? Courage, the princess repeated. We have courage. Velthari warriors are trained from youth to face danger without fear. Facing danger without fear is one thing, Taeyang said. Facing certain death and choosing it anyway to save others is something different. That is not just courage, that is love. The word seemed to startle the princess. She turned to look at him. Love is a chemical response to ensure reproduction and offspring care. It is biological programming. Jiwoo smiled sadly. It is also the reason we build memorials, the reason we tell stories, the reason we cry at funerals and celebrate the lives of those we have lost. We love people so much that even their absence matters to us. The princess returned to her seat. For the first time since they had met her, she seemed uncertain. Show me more of these memorials. Jiwoo changed the display. Images flowed past. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C., its black wall covered with names. The Memorial Hall in Seoul, honoring those who defended their nation. Simple roadside crosses marking where people died in accidents. Photographs and flowers left at the sites of tragedies. Every culture has different traditions, Jiwoo explained, but the purpose is the same. We refuse to let our dead disappear as if they never existed. We insist that their lives meant something, that their choices mattered. The princess pointed at one image showing a memorial covered with thousands of small notes. What are those? Messages, Jiwoo said. People write to the dead. They tell them about their lives. They ask for guidance. They say the things they never got to say when the person was alive. But the dead cannot read these messages. No, Jiwoo agreed. But writing them helps the living. It helps us process grief. It helps us remember. It helps us feel connected to those we lost. The princess was quiet for a long time, studying the image. When I was young, she finally said, my grandmother was killed defending our borders from raiders. She commanded a fleet. She stayed behind to allow civilian ships to escape. I was told her death was unfortunate, but that I should focus on my studies and not dwell on it. Did you want to dwell on it? Taeyang asked gently. The princess's hands tightened in her lap. I wanted to scream. I wanted to rage. I wanted to tell everyone what she had done. But that is not the Velthari way. We do not display emotion. We do not waste time on things we cannot change. So I said nothing. I did nothing. And now, 52 years later, most people do not even remember her name. Jiwoo moved to sit beside the princess. What was her name? The princess looked at her, and for the first time there was something raw in her dark eyes. Velcarissa. She loved to watch the stars. She taught me the names of constellations. She told me stories about ancient times when the Velthari were explorers instead of conquerors. She sounds wonderful, Jiwoo said softly. She was, the princess whispered. And I have never told anyone that. I have never spoken about her at all, because we are not supposed to mourn. We are supposed to be strong. Hyunwoo stepped forward. There is a human saying, the grief we carry is just love with nowhere to go. You still love your grandmother. That love does not disappear just because she did. A single tear rolled down the princess's cheek. She touched it with her finger, looking at the moisture as if she had never seen it before. I am crying. Velthari royalty does not cry. This is weakness. No, Taeyang said firmly. This is being alive. This is being real. There is no weakness in feeling loss. The weakness is in pretending we feel nothing at all. The princess wiped her face. Her hands were shaking slightly. If I were home, I would be punished for this display. Emotional control is one of our highest values. Then perhaps it is good you are here instead, Jiwoo said. They sat in silence for several minutes. The stars beyond the window continued their eternal dance. Finally, the princess spoke again. You build memorials for those who sacrifice themselves. You tell their stories, you teach their values to new generations. And this makes you stronger? Yes, Hyunwoo said. Because we remember that life is not just about surviving. It is about what we are willing to die for. My great-grandfather taught me that some things are worth more than one person's life. That is a lesson that has shaped everything I am. The princess stood slowly. She looked tired, as if this conversation had exhausted her. I need to think about this. It challenges everything I have been taught. Take all the time you need, Taeyang said. At the door, the princess paused. Tomorrow, may I come back? There is more I wish to understand. Of course, Jiwoo said. We will be here. After she left, the three humans looked at each other. Hyunwoo spoke first. She is changing. I can see it happening. Yes, Taeyang said, and I think it frightens her. Everything she believed is being questioned. Jiwoo looked at the memorial images still displayed in the hologram. Do you think we are doing the right thing? Showing her all of this? I think, Taeyang said carefully, that she asked to see it. She chose this, and choice is the most human thing of all. The human quarters on the diplomatic station were modest but comfortable. Jiwoo had worked hard to make them feel like home. She hung fabric on the walls with traditional Korean patterns. She placed cushions around low tables. She even managed to get a small garden growing in one corner with herbs and flowers from Earth. Princess Velnara arrived in the evening this time when the station's artificial lights dimmed to simulate night. Her advisors had again tried to stop her from coming, but she had dismissed them with a wave of her hand. She was a princess, after all. She could do as she wished. When the door opened, the princess stopped in surprise. The main room was full of humans. Some sat at tables playing games, others stood talking and laughing. Music played softly in the background, some kind of gentle melody with strings and drums. The smell of food filled the air. I apologize, the princess said stiffly. I did not realize you were hosting a gathering. I should return another time. No, Jiwoo said, smiling warmly. This is what we wanted to show you. Please come in. The princess entered slowly. The humans glanced at her but did not stop what they were doing. A few nodded in greeting, then returned to their activities. This seemed to confuse her even more. What is happening here? She asked. Game night, Taeyang explained. He sat at one of the tables where several people were playing a board game with carved wooden pieces. Every week, those of us who are off duty gather here. We play games, share food, and just spend time together. The princess looked around the room. But why? You all work together every day. Why would you choose to spend your free time together as well? A young man approached them. His name was Woo Jin, and he worked as an engineer in the station's maintenance department. He had warm eyes and an easy smile. Because work is different from friendship, princess. Would you like to join us? We are about to start a new game. I do not play games, the princess said. They serve no purpose. That is exactly their purpose, Woo Jin laughed. Come on, it will be fun. I promise we will go easy on you. Before the princess could refuse, she found herself being led to a table. Hyunwoo was already there, along with a woman named Yu-na who worked in medical. They had set up a game board with 4 colored pieces. This is Yut Nori. Woo Jin explained. "It is a traditional Korean game, very old. You throw these sticks, and depending on how they land, you move your pieces around the board. First person to get all their pieces home wins." The princess looked at the simple wooden sticks. "This is a game of chance? There is no skill involved?" "There is some strategy," Yuna said. She had a gentle voice and kind eyes. "But yes, luck plays a big part. That is what makes it fun. Anyone can win." They began to play. The princess watched carefully as each person took their turn. When it came to her turn, she threw the sticks awkwardly. They clattered onto the table. Woo Jin showed her what the throw meant and helped her move her piece. The game continued. At first, the princess played mechanically, as if completing a required task. But as the rounds went on, something changed. When Yuna made a good throw, she clapped her hands and laughed. When Hyun-woo's piece got sent back to the start, he groaned dramatically, making everyone smile. Even when the princess made a mistake, no one criticized her. They just encouraged her to try again. "You are not trying to win," the princess observed after several rounds. "You are playing without intensity." Woo Jin shrugged. "Oh, we want to win." "But winning is not the point." "Then what is the point?" "This," Yuna said, gesturing around the table. "Being together, laughing, taking a break from our serious work and just being people instead of crew members." The princess threw the sticks again. This time she got a perfect throw, allowing her to move far ahead on the board. Something unexpected happened then. She smiled. It was small and quickly hidden, but it was real. The game ended with Hyun-woo winning, though barely. Everyone congratulated him. Then Woo Jin immediately suggested they play again. The princess hesitated. "I should go," she said. "I am taking time away from your gathering." "You are part of the gathering," Ji-woo said, appearing beside the table with a tray of food. "That is how it works. Anyone who is here belongs here. Now eat something. You have been on this station for 3 days, and I have never seen you eat properly." The princess looked at the food. Small dumplings, rice cakes, vegetables in sauce, and some kind of sweet dessert. "What is this?" "Korean food, mostly," Ji-woo said. "Made with what ingredients we could get out here in space. Not perfect, but close enough to remind us of home." The princess carefully picked up a dumpling. She bit into it slowly, then paused. "This is good." "Of course it is good," Ji-woo laughed. "Food tastes better when you share it with others. That is another tradition. Eating alone is efficient, but eating together is living." They played another round of the game. This time, the princess participated more naturally. She even made a small sound of disappointment when her piece got sent backward. Yuna reached over and patted her hand. "It happens to all of us," Yuna said warmly. "That is the game." After the game ended, the princess sat back and watched the room. People moved between different tables, trying various games. Some were quiet strategy games that required deep thought. Others were loud and chaotic, with people laughing and shouting. In one corner, a group sang along to music, their voices blending together in harmony that was sometimes beautiful and sometimes terrible, but always joyful. "I do not understand," the princess said quietly. "You gain no resources from this. You earn no status. You advance no goals. What is the purpose?" Tae-yang sat down beside her. "Tell me, princess, what do you do in your free time?" She thought about it. "I study diplomatic protocols. I review military strategies. I practice my meditation techniques to maintain emotional control. I prepare reports for my father about various political situations." "And when was the last time you did something just because you wanted to?" Tae-yang asked. "Not because it was required or beneficial or productive, just because it made you happy?" The princess was silent for a long moment. "I am not sure I understand the question." Tae-yang nodded slowly. "That is what I thought. Princess, humans learned something important a long time ago. We cannot work all the time. We cannot be productive every moment. If we try, we break. We need rest. We need joy. We need connection. These game nights, these gatherings, they are not wasted time. They are what keep us healthy and whole. Yuna joined them, sitting on the princess's other side. I work in medical. I see people at their worst, when they are sick or injured or dying. It is hard work. It weighs on me. But every week I come here. I play silly games. I laugh at stupid jokes. I eat too much food and stay up too late. And then the next day, I can go back to work. I can face the hard things again. Because I remember that life is not just pain and difficulty. Life is also this. She gestured around the room at the humans gathering, playing, laughing, simply being together. The princess watched a group across the room. They were playing some kind of card game and arguing playfully about the rules. One person accused another of cheating, but everyone was smiling. In Velthari society, we do not have gatherings like this. We attend formal functions with specific purposes. We network to build political alliances. We never just gather. Never? Jiwoo asked, surprised. Never, the princess confirmed. It would be seen as frivolous, a waste of time that could be spent improving ourselves or advancing our positions. Woo Jin had been listening. That sounds lonely, he said bluntly. The princess looked at him sharply. Velthari do not experience loneliness. We are raised to be self-sufficient. Everyone experiences loneliness, Woo Jin said gently. It is part of being alive and aware. You can train yourself not to show it, but that does not make it go away. The princess opened her mouth to argue, then closed it again. She looked down at her hands. Perhaps, she said very quietly, we have forgotten the difference between strength and isolation. Music started playing, something with a faster beat. Several humans began dancing. Their movements enthusiastic, if not always graceful. They called for others to join them. Soon half the room was moving, some dancing well, others just bouncing to the rhythm. No one seemed to care how they looked. This is chaos, the princess said, but there was no criticism in her voice, only wonder. This is community, Taeyang corrected. This is humans being human. We are social creatures. We need each other, not just for survival, but for happiness. These traditions of gathering, of playing, of being together without agenda or purpose, they are as important to us as food or water. The princess stood suddenly. For a moment, everyone thought she was leaving. But instead, she walked over to where people were dancing. She stood at the edge watching their movements. Slowly, carefully, she began to move with the music. Her movements were stiff and uncertain, nothing like her usual grace. But she was trying. Jiwoo came up beside her. Just feel the music, she said, demonstrating simple steps. Do not think about it, just move. The princess tried to copy her movements. She was terrible at it. Her timing was off, her movements awkward, but the humans around her did not laugh or judge. They smiled encouragingly and kept dancing. Woo Jin showed her an easier step. Yuna clapped along to help her find the rhythm. For 10 minutes, Princess Velnara, crown princess of the Velthari Empire, danced badly with a group of humans in a small room on a diplomatic station. And when the song ended and she was slightly out of breath, she realized something. She was smiling. Not the careful diplomatic smile she had learned. A real smile that came from somewhere deep inside her. I need to sit down, she said, and the humans laughed kindly, leading her back to a chair. Someone brought her water. Someone else offered her more food. They did not make a fuss over her. They simply included her, as if she had always been part of their group. Later, as the gathering wound down and people began to drift away to their quarters, the princess sat with Taeyang in the now quiet room. The music had stopped. The tables were covered with game pieces and empty plates. My people would see this as a waste, she said. Hours spent doing nothing productive. And what do you see? Tai Yang asked. The princess was quiet, thinking. I see people who care about each other. I see a group that has become something more than just individuals. I see... She paused, searching for words. I see something we have lost, or perhaps something we never had. She looked at Tai Yang with an expression that was almost painful. Is it too late? Can something lost be found again? I do not know, Tai Yang said honestly. But I think any journey begins with understanding what you are missing. And now you know. The princess nodded slowly. She stood to leave, then paused. Thank you for including me tonight. I will remember this. You are welcome back anytime, Jiwoo said. That is what community means. The door is always open. After the princess left, Hyunwoo looked at Taeyang. She is learning fast. Yes, Taeyang said. But learning is the easy part. Changing is much harder. It was late when Princess Velnara arrived at the human embassy office. The station's corridors were quiet, with only the hum of life support systems breaking the silence. She had sent no message ahead. She simply appeared at the door and requested entry. Taeyang was still working, reviewing documents at his desk. He looked up in surprise when she entered. Princess, is everything all right? I cannot sleep, she said. There was something different about her tonight. Her usual perfect posture was slightly slumped. Her face showed tiredness that she had never displayed before. I keep thinking about what you have shown me. It troubles me. Please sit, Taeyang said, gesturing to a comfortable chair. Would you like tea? Yes, she said, and something about that simple word felt significant. A Velthari princess asking for something instead of demanding it. As Taeyang prepared tea, the princess looked around the office. It was different from other diplomatic spaces on the station. Personal items were scattered around. A photograph of Earth, a small plant in a clay pot, books on physical shelves instead of just digital files. You surround yourself with unnecessary objects, she observed. I surround myself with memories and meaning, Taeyang corrected gently, handing her a cup of tea. They remind me why I do this work. The princess held the warm cup in both hands. I have been watching your crew, not just during our meetings, but in the corridors, in common areas. I see how you interact. There is something I do not understand. What is that? You trust each other, she said, completely, without hesitation. How is this possible? How do you know no one will betray you? Taeyang sat down across from her. We do not know that. Betrayal is always possible, but we choose to trust anyway, because the alternative is to live in constant suspicion. That is no way to live. The princess sipped her tea. In Velthari society, trust must be earned through years of proven loyalty. Even family members watch each other for signs of ambition or treachery. It is safer that way. Is it? Taeyang asked. Or is it simply lonelier? Before the princess could answer, the door chimed. Hyunwoo entered, followed by a man the princess had not met before. He was older, perhaps in his 60s, with gray hair and tired eyes. He wore the formal robes of a senior diplomat. Forgive the interruption, Hyunwoo said, but the princess asked about trust. I thought Daejung should be here for this conversation. The older man bowed slightly to the princess. Your Highness, I am Daejung, Senior Diplomatic Advisor to Ambassador Taeyang. The princess nodded in acknowledgement. You hold a position of high trust. I do now, Daejung said, but it was not always so. May I tell you a story? The princess gestured for him to continue. Daejung sat down slowly, as if the memory he carried was physically heavy. 20 years ago, I was not a diplomat. I was an angry young man who made a terrible mistake. I got into an argument with someone. The argument became a fight. I hurt that person badly. They spent weeks in the hospital. The princess's expression hardened. You committed violence against another person. Yes, Dae-jung said simply. I did. I was arrested. I went to trial. I was found guilty and sentenced to 5 years in prison. And then you were executed, the princess said. It was not a question but a statement of what would happen in her culture. That is the Velthari way. Those who harm others are removed permanently from society. No, Dae-jung said. I was not executed. I was sent to a rehabilitation facility. For 5 years I lived there. I attended therapy sessions. I learned about anger management and conflict resolution. I studied history and philosophy. I worked with victims of violence, hearing their stories, understanding the harm I had caused. The princess set down her teacup. You were allowed to live? After such a crime? Humans believe in something called second chances, Tai Yang explained. We believe that people can change, that one terrible action does not have to define someone forever. But how can society be safe if violent criminals are allowed to remain? The princess demanded. Dae-jung leaned forward. Because we also believe in accountability and growth. I met with the person I hurt. It was part of the program, called restorative justice. I had to face them, hear how I had damaged their life, take full responsibility for what I had done. It was the hardest thing I have ever experienced. And they forgave you? The princess asked, her voice sharp with disbelief. No, Dae-jung said quietly. They did not forgive me. They were not required to, but they told me that they did not want my life destroyed along with theirs. They said that if I truly regretted my actions, the best thing I could do was become someone better, someone who would never hurt another person again. The princess stood and walked to the window. This is weakness. Criminals should face consequences, not second chances. I did face consequences, Dae-jung said. 5 years of my life, the shame of my actions, the loss of my family's trust, the hard work of changing who I was, but the consequence was not destruction. It was transformation. Ji-woo entered the office then, carrying a data pad. Sorry I am late. I brought the statistics you asked for, Tai-young. She stopped when she saw everyone gathered. Oh, am I interrupting? No, your timing is perfect, Tae-yang said. Please share what you found. Ji-woo pulled up data on the office's holographic display. These are crime statistics from Earth over the past century. Since we implemented restorative justice programs and rehabilitation instead of just punishment, our repeat offense rate has dropped by 70%. People who complete rehabilitation programs and return to society have an 85% success rate in becoming productive citizens. The princess studied the numbers. This seems impossible. It is not impossible, Tae-yang said. It is human. We believe that people are more than their worst moments. We believe in growth and change. The princess turned to face Dae-jung. And now you are a senior diplomat. You hold great responsibility. What if you become angry again? What if you hurt someone again? Dae-jung met her gaze steadily. That is a fear I carry every day, but I have learned to recognize my anger before it controls me. I have learned to walk away, to breathe, to choose differently. I have not raised my hand in violence in 20 years, and every day I choose not to. Choice, the princess repeated. You speak of choice as if it is simple. But what about the victim? Did they have a choice when you hurt them? No, Dae-jung said, his voice heavy with old pain. They did not. And that is something I will carry forever. But punishing me forever does not heal them. It does not make society safer. It simply creates more suffering. The princess was silent for a long moment. Then she asked quietly, What about those who hurt you? Does this tradition of second chances apply to them as well? Ji-woo spoke up. Yes. That is perhaps the hardest part. not just accepting that we deserve forgiveness, but offering it to others. I do not understand how that is possible, the princess said. If someone harms you, how can you let go of that anger? Jiwoo set down her data pad. May I share something personal? The princess nodded. When I was young, my brother was killed in an accident caused by someone's negligence. They had not followed safety protocols. They had taken shortcuts to save time. Because of their carelessness, my brother died. He was only 23 years old. The princess's expression softened slightly. I am sorry for your loss. Thank you, Jiwoo said. For years I hated the person responsible. I wished terrible things would happen to them. My hatred consumed me. It affected my health, my relationships, my ability to feel joy. I was destroying myself. That is understandable, the princess said. Yes, but it was also useless, Jiwoo continued. My brother was still gone. My hatred did not bring him back. It only poisoned my own life. So I made a choice. I went through a forgiveness program. I met with the person responsible. They had been living in guilt and shame, unable to move forward. And you forgave them? The princess asked. Eventually, Jiwoo said. Not all at once. Forgiveness is not a single moment. It is a process, sometimes a long one. But yes, I forgave them. Not because they deserved it, but because I needed to be free. Hatred is a prison we build for ourselves. The princess sat down again, looking suddenly exhausted. In Velthari culture, we do not forgive. We do not forget. We maintain grudges for generations. We teach our children who wronged our ancestors centuries ago. And has that made you stronger? Tae Yang asked gently. The princess's hands clenched. It has made us bitter. It has created endless cycles of revenge. Families feud for hundreds of years over ancient insults. Political factions destroy each other over grievances no one remembers the origin of. She looked up, and there were tears in her eyes. My brother was exiled 10 years ago for a political mistake. He challenged our father's decision publicly. He was wrong to do so, but he was young and passionate. Now he is forbidden from ever returning. I have not spoken to him in a decade. Do you miss him? Jiwoo asked softly. Every day, the princess whispered. But I am not allowed to miss him. He betrayed the family. He must be treated as if he never existed. That is our law. Daejung spoke quietly. What if there was another way? What if he could come home? That is impossible, the princess said. Our laws are absolute. There are no second chances for those who betray their family. Laws can change, Tae Yang said. If those in power choose to change them. The princess looked at him, understanding dawning in her eyes. You are asking if I would change this law, when I have power to do so. I am asking if what you have learned here has changed what you believe is possible, Tae Yang said. The princess stood and walked to the window again. The stars beyond were unchanging, eternal. I think, she said slowly, that I have been taught all my life that strength means being hard, unmerciful, unyielding. But watching you humans, I see something different. You bend, but you do not break. You forgive, but you do not forget. You offer second chances, but you still hold people accountable. She turned back to face them. That is a different kind of strength, one that requires more courage, perhaps, than the kind I was raised with. Change is always frightening, Hyunwoo said, but so is staying the same when you know the same is wrong. The princess looked at each of them in turn. I must present my report to the Galactic Council in 2 days. They expect me to declare whether humanity is ready for full membership. They expect me to judge you by our standards of civilization. And what will you tell them? Tae Yang asked. The princess smiled then, a real smile with sadness and hope mixed together. I am not certain yet, But I think I will tell them something they do not expect to hear. Something that will challenge their assumptions about what makes a species truly advanced. She moved toward the door, then paused. Daejung, may I ask you something? Of course, Your Highness. Are you happy now? After everything that happened? After all the pain you caused and experienced, are you happy? Daejung thought about it carefully. I am not sure happy is the right word. I am at peace. I am useful. I am trying every day to be better than I was. And yes, there is happiness in that. Not the absence of pain, but something earned through growth. The princess nodded slowly. Thank you for sharing your story with me. It has given me much to think about. After she left, the four humans sat in silence for a moment. Finally, Jiwoo spoke. She is planning something. Something big. Yes, Taeyang agreed. And I think we may have just helped start a revolution. Whether that is good or bad, time will tell. Daejung smiled slightly. A revolution built on forgiveness and second chances. That would be something new in this galaxy. That, Hyunwoo said, would be very human indeed. The Galactic Council chamber was massive. Representatives from 200 species sat in tiered rows that rose toward a domed ceiling showing the galaxy itself. The chamber was designed to make individuals feel small, to remind them of the vast scope of galactic civilization. Taeyang and his team sat in the human section, which was near the bottom. New species always sat low until they proved their worth. Above them, ancient species looked down with expressions ranging from boredom to contempt. Princess Velnara was supposed to present her assessment today. The Velthari held great influence in the council. Their opinion would largely determine whether humanity received full membership or remained in probationary status for another decade. The council chairman, a being made of crystalline structures that pulsed with light, called the session to order. We gather to hear the assessment of Princess Velnara of the Velthari Empire regarding species 7042 known as humanity. Princess, you have spent 1 week observing these beings. What is your judgment? Princess Velnara stood. She wore formal robes of deep purple, and her face showed no emotion. The perfect image of Velthari nobility. She walked to the center of the chamber, where a platform rose to elevate speakers. Honored Council, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. I have completed my assessment of humanity. I have observed their customs, their traditions, and their way of life. I am prepared to present my findings. Taeyang felt Jiwoo tense beside him. They had not spoken to the princess since their last meeting 2 nights ago. They had no idea what she would say. Before I begin, the princess continued, I must request something unusual. I ask that Ambassador Taeyang and his team join me on this platform. What I have to say involves their direct participation. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The chairman's lights flickered in what might have been surprise. This is highly irregular. Nevertheless, I request it, the princess said firmly. I am still a crown princess of the Velthari Empire. I believe I have earned some consideration. The chairman's lights pulsed. Very well. Let the humans come forward. Taeyang, Jiwoo, Hyunwoo, and Daejung made their way to the platform. As they passed through the chamber, Taeyang could feel hundreds of alien eyes watching them. Most looked skeptical or dismissive. When they reached the platform, the princess turned to face them. Her expression was still controlled, but Taeyang saw something in her eyes. Determination, maybe even defiance. Honored Council, the princess said, turning back to the assembly. I will begin with my observations. Humanity practices numerous traditions that, by galactic standards, appear primitive and wasteful. The council members nodded. This was what they expected to hear. They honor their dead, the princess continued, building elaborate memorials and spending time visiting graves. They hold ceremonies for those who have died, speaking to them as if they could hear. By any logical measure, this wastes time and resources on individuals who can no longer benefit from such attention. More nodding from the council. They gather regularly without purpose, the princess said. They play games that have no productive outcome. They share meals that take longer to prepare and consume than efficient nutrition would require. They sing, they dance, they tell stories, all activities that provide no measurable advancement. A few council members were smiling now, satisfied that their assumptions about human primitiveness were being confirmed. They forgive those who harm them, the princess said, her voice growing stronger. They offer criminals the chance to return to society. They believe in something they call second chances, allowing people to grow beyond their worst actions. They practice traditions of reconciliation and forgiveness that any efficient society would reject. The chairman spoke. So your assessment is that humanity is too primitive for full membership? The princess was quiet for a moment. Then she said, No, that is not my assessment at all. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. The chairman's lights flickered rapidly. Please explain. I said these traditions appear primitive, the princess stated clearly. But I did not say they are primitive. There is a difference, a significant one that this council has failed to recognize. She activated a holographic display. Data began to flow around her, visible to everyone in the chamber. This is human history over the past 300 years, she said. In that time, humanity has expanded to 47 colony worlds. They have suffered 7 major disasters, including 2 that destroyed entire colonies. They have faced disease, famine, war, and nearly destroyed themselves several times. The council members watched the data scroll past. And yet, the princess continued, in those 300 years, humanity has not had a single civil war, not one internal conflict that divided their species against itself. She let that statement hang in the air for a moment before continuing. Compare this to the Velthari Empire, she said, and now her voice carried an edge. In the same time period, we have had 17 civil wars. 17 times our people turned on each other. Millions died in conflicts over politics, resources, and ancient grudges. New data appeared, showing the histories of various council species. The numbers were damning. The Torvan Collective had 23 civil conflicts in the past 300 years. The Shalesh Unity, despite their name, had 31. The Krovar Dominion had 47. Every single species on this council has torn itself apart repeatedly while humanity has remained unified. The chamber was silent now. Every member was focused on the princess. I asked myself why, she said. Why would these supposedly primitive humans succeed where we advanced species constantly fail? The answer is in those very traditions we dismiss as wasteful. She gestured to Hyunwoo. This man's great-grandfather died saving 47 people. Humanity honors his sacrifice. They tell his story. They teach it to their children. Because of this tradition, humans learn from childhood that some things are worth dying for. That individual survival is less important than community survival. She turned to Jiwoo. This woman lost her brother to another person's negligence. She had every reason to seek revenge, to let hatred consume her. Instead, she chose forgiveness. She chose to free herself from the prison of endless anger. Because humans practice this tradition, they break cycles of revenge rather than perpetuate them. Now she looked at Dae-jung. This man committed a terrible crime. In any of our societies, he would have been executed or exiled permanently. Instead, humans gave him a second chance. They invested in his rehabilitation. Now he serves as a senior diplomat, helping to build peace instead of spread violence. Because humans believe people can change, they create citizens invested in their society rather than outcasts who have nothing to lose. The princess took a breath. These traditions that seem illogical are actually sophisticated social technology. They are tools that humanity has refined over thousands of years to keep their species stable, unified, and resilient. She activated another display. Video footage began to play. Scenes of humans helping each other during disasters, communities rebuilding after destruction, strangers becoming friends, enemies reconciling. When disaster strikes a human colony, the princess said, they do not descend into chaos. They gather together. They share resources. They comfort each other. They sing songs in the darkness and maintain hope because their traditions have taught them that survival is not just physical, it is emotional and social. The video changed to show human game nights, festivals, celebrations. When humans face long periods of stress, they do not break. They have built-in relief systems. They play. They celebrate. They gather without purpose because the gathering itself is the purpose. These traditions prevent the kind of social breakdown that leads to civil war. Now the video showed memorials, ceremonies, moments of remembrance. When humans lose people, they do not simply move on. They process grief communally. They honor sacrifice. This creates a culture where courage is rewarded even in death, where contribution matters, where every individual knows their life has meaning beyond their own survival. The princess turned off the display and faced the council directly. Honored members, I submit that we have been measuring advancement incorrectly. We have equated progress with efficiency, logic, and the suppression of emotion. We have built societies that are technologically advanced but socially fragile. She paused, then spoke with quiet intensity. Humanity is not primitive. They are what we forgot to be. They are what we might have been if we had valued connection as much as advancement. If we had understood that the purpose of civilization is not just survival, but living in a way that makes survival worthwhile. The chairman's lights pulsed slowly. These are strong claims, Princess. Do you have proof that human traditions directly cause their stability? I do, the princess said. I have here comparative data on species social cohesion, civil conflict rates, mental health indicators, and social satisfaction levels. Humanity ranks in the top 3% across all categories despite being one of the youngest spacefaring species. She projected the data. The numbers were clear and undeniable. But more than that, the princess continued, I have experienced these traditions myself. I have played their games. I have heard their stories. I have felt what it is like to be part of a community that values you not for what you produce, but simply for existing. Her voice grew softer, more personal. I cried for the first time in 52 years. I spoke about my grandmother, who sacrificed herself for others, and who was forgotten by my people because we do not honor such things. I sat with humans who welcomed me not as a princess to be feared, but as a person to be included. She looked at Tai Yang and his team. These humans taught me something my people forgot millennia ago. Strength is not the absence of emotion. Unity is not the suppression of individuality. Progress is not the abandonment of the past. True advancement is learning to be fully alive while helping others do the same. The princess turned back to the council. I recommend not only that humanity be granted full membership immediately, but that we establish a mandatory cultural exchange program. Every young member of every council species should spend time with humans, learning these traditions, understanding what we have lost. The chamber erupted. Some council members objected loudly. Others sat in thoughtful silence. Still others activated their displays, examining the data the princess had provided. The chairman called for order. This is unprecedented, Princess. You are suggesting that we, the advanced species of this council, should learn from one of the youngest races? Yes, the princess said simply. That is exactly what I am suggesting. Because being old does not mean being wise, and being advanced does not mean being healthy. Humanity has something we need. I propose we are humble enough to learn it. A council member from the Shalish Unity stood. I have reviewed the data. The correlation between human cultural practices and social stability is statistically significant. I support the princess's recommendation. Another member from the Torvin Collective stood. My species has suffered greatly from internal conflict. If there is even a chance that human traditions could help us, we should explore it. I also support this recommendation. One by one, council members began to stand. Not all of them, but many. Enough. The chairman's lights pulsed in a pattern that suggested deep thought. Finally, he spoke. Very well. We will vote. All in favor of granting humanity full council membership and establishing a human cultural exchange program? Lights appeared throughout the chamber as members voted. Tai Yang watched, hardly breathing. The count rose. 2/3 was needed for such a significant decision. The final count appeared, 74% in favor. The measure passes, the chairman announced. Humanity is granted full membership. The cultural exchange program will be established within one solar cycle. The chamber erupted in discussion. Some members celebrated, others argued, but the decision was made. Princess Velnara turned to Taeyang and his team. For the first time since they met her, she smiled fully and freely. Congratulations, Ambassador. Your species has just changed the galaxy. Taeyang bowed deeply. Thank you, Princess. You honored us with your honesty and your courage. No, the princess said. Thank you. You gave me something I did not know I was missing. Hope. The belief that we can be better than we are. Jiwoo stepped forward. What will you do now? The princess's smile grew. I am going to return to my empire and start making changes, beginning with reaching out to my brother. He has been in exile long enough. It is time for a second chance. Hyunwoo grinned. He will be glad to hear from you. I hope so, the princess said. And I am going to propose memorial monuments for all those who died protecting others, including my grandmother. Her name was Velcarissa, and she deserves to be remembered. Daejong spoke quietly. That will not be easy. Your people will resist. Yes, the princess agreed, but things worth doing are rarely easy. You taught me that too. The humans and the princess stood together on the platform as the council chamber slowly emptied. They had come as representatives of two very different species, but now they stood as something more. Friends. Months later, Tai Yang received a message from Princess Velnara. It contained a single image, a monument of white stone standing in a Velthari plaza. Carved into the stone were names, hundreds of names. Velthari who had died protecting others, who had sacrificed themselves for the greater good, who had been erased from history until now. At the top of the monument, in the place of highest honor, was the name Velcarissa. Below the image, the princess had written, They said it could not be done. They said our people would reject it. But something strange happened. When we unveiled the monument, thousands came to see it. Many wept openly, which we never do. They told stories of their own family members who had been forgotten. They wanted their names added. We are building more monuments now. You were right. Remembering the dead helps the living. Thank you for teaching an old species something new, or perhaps reminding us of something ancient that we had lost. Either way, the Velthari Empire is beginning to change. Slowly, painfully, but truly. Your friend, Velnara. Taeyang showed the message to his team. They gathered around his desk, looking at the image of the monument. We did that, Jiwoo said softly, just by being ourselves. That is the power of tradition, Tai Yang said. It does not force change. It invites it. It shows others what is possible and lets them choose for themselves. Hyun-woo looked at the monument. My great-grandfather would have liked this, knowing that his story helped create this. Dae-jung nodded. All of our stories did, the good and the bad, the triumphs and the mistakes. That is what it means to be human. We carry all of it together. They stood in silence for a moment, looking at the monument light years away. A symbol of change, a testament to the power of remembering, of gathering, of forgiving, of believing that people and societies can grow. Outside the window, stars shone steady in the darkness. And somewhere out there, on countless worlds, humans and aliens were learning from each other, sharing stories, building understanding. The galaxy was vast and old, but it was learning something new from its youngest members. It was learning to be human, and that made all the difference.